And good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Dan here with another episode of What the Health. And every Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go live with a new episode to cover the latest and greatest tried and true health trends in order to help our community get healthy and stay healthy for a lifetime. And I promise this evening I am not going to discuss the coronavirus. For updates, please visit our website. Please check out our private What the Health group, or just turn on just about any news feed or go on your friend's Facebook page for updates on the coronavirus. I will not be talking about that this evening. Tonight, I am actually going to take us away from the coronavirus pandemic and discuss protein shakes. And this was a pre-scheduled topic that we wanted to discuss. We get a lot of questions on what's the best protein supplement, what should I be taking for my optimal nutrition routine. And so we decided to go ahead and put this in March, as March is Nutrition Awareness Month. So I am going to be discussing protein shakes and what are the best options, or if you should even be including it in your daily or weekly health regimen. So without waiting any longer, I'm going to jump right into protein shakes. I'm going to break it down into two categories this evening. We're going to talk about quantity number one and quality number two. So I want to take you back to a story. This goes all the way back to undergrad. So we're talking a decade and a half ago when I was a freshman starting at Penn State. I started working out with a cousin of mine who was a senior at the time. And he and I would go to the gym on a pretty regular basis, and he started talking to me a little bit about supplements. And interestingly enough, his take on supplements is that they actually were not good for you. His reasoning was that he was watching many of his friends, especially in the fraternities, they would down these protein shakes as part of their nutrition, and he was actually monitoring that they would start to gain this belly. And even though they were working out, they may have been eating healthy in other areas. I'm sure they were all consuming too much alcohol, which was part of the equation. But he said that even for himself, he would notice that when he started taking excess protein in the form of a shake supplement, he actually developed a bit of a belly. And the one product that they took that was very popular back in the day was a Methoxy protein. I think that was the protein. I don't know if it's still around, but so they actually, he deemed it, he and his friends deemed it what they called Methoxy Gut, because they would get this belly when they consumed too much protein in the form of a shake. So that was, again, no research on that, just a little bit of a, eyewitness, observer information in terms of a shake protein. So the reason I bring that up is because we want to talk about what is actually the amount of protein that we are supposed to take. There's so much, back and forth information. I've seen it as high as people saying, oh, you need 1 gram per pound of body weight. And I've seen it, on the very low end. The actual recommendations are about 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. And so I actually had to have this discussion today, interestingly enough, with one of our clients because, as someone who works out very regularly, he was consuming about 1 gram or 0.8 grams per pound of his body weight. But that's actually more than double what you actually need on a daily basis. In fact, if you break down the average person's body weight and divide it, by kilograms, you take your body weight in pounds and divide it by, 2.2 to get your weight in kilograms. And then you take that kilogram body weight and multiply by the 0.8, you're actually looking at an average range from about 45 grams of protein to 55 grams of protein for your average male or female range in terms of your protein intake per day. And that's grams, 45 to 55 grams of protein per day. Now, of course, there's a wide range of what the different circumstances are. That's assuming a very sedentary or someone who is not very active, just from a basal metabolic rate, that 45 to 55 grams of protein per day should really sustain, a healthy protein intake. If you are a bodybuilder, that's not who I'm talking to right now. I'm talking to your average Joe, who might be, who's trying to get their daily activity, their weekly activity level, and they're not, trying to gain a large amount of muscle mass. I'm talking to the general public here. So if you're just an average activity, person per day, and you're trying to get the correct amount of protein, 45 to 55 grams of protein per day is really all your body needs in order to to maintain its health and well-being. Because ultimately, if it does notice that you start to have a lack of amino acids somewhere, it's going to go find them somewhere, and it's going to go find them in the damaged, diseased, or dead cells in the body. So if you're not getting enough, the body actually goes, will automatically be kicked into a cycle called autophagy, and I know I've talked about that before, where cells will start to break down, and when cells break down, they're made up of amino acids, so the body will recycle those and it'll find its sources of protein. So again, you don't need a ton of protein in your diet. 45 to 55 grams per day. So if we break that down into actual food, what does that look like? Well, guess what? One chicken thigh, and I love chicken thighs, but one chicken thigh will give you about 30 grams of protein, just shy of 30 grams of protein. That's a huge amount. 2 chicken thighs gives your average gentleman plenty of protein per day. And I know I eat more than 2 chicken thighs when I sit down for a serving. So that's one. If you eat a 6-ounce steak, okay, and how many of us actually eat 6 ounces of steak? Most of us, guilty of 10 to 12 ounces, especially if you go out for a nice meal or you cook yourself a nice Delmonico on the grill, which I certainly love to do. But if you're looking at a 6-ounce steak, 42 grams of protein. So as a female, if you're eating a 6-ounce steak, you have got your entire day's protein necessity in one piece of steak. That doesn't even include any vegetables that you might have with the meal. So 42 grams of protein in a 6-ounce steak. You get 6 to 7 grams of protein in 1 egg or 2 cups of broccoli. Okay? So again, my point is, we don't really need to be supplementing these additional protein shakes. And again, I hope I'm probably rocking the boat a little bit from the healthcare industry or those who are out there selling these types of products. Again, I really don't feel you need all this additional protein. I've seen it from my own experience because I used to eat a lot of protein. Especially again, in high school, learning, how to weight lift, and that's what we were told. Hey, you've got to replenish the protein stores when you break down the muscle. So you got to make sure that you eat that protein to replenish the stores. And the amount of protein that people consume on a day-to-day basis is significantly more than most people need. And even if you are a little bit more active, you don't. Even if you double the amount of protein, from a sedentary person, you still don't need more than 4 chicken breasts in a day, or 4 chicken thighs in a day will give you plenty of protein, probably more than you actually need. So, again, the amount of protein we take, 45 to 55 grams, depending on the range, male to female. That's for a sedentary individual. Bump it up a little bit if you're a little bit more active, but you really don't need those. Get it from food, get it from good quality food sources. Now, if you absolutely feel the need to add a little bit of a protein shake, we got to talk about topic number 2, and that's quality of protein. So there are a couple things that I want to make sure that you are aware of if you are looking at a protein source. If you are the old school type of person and you want to make sure you get your protein from a whey, which is a milk protein from cows, which tends to be a little bit more inflammatory, so you got to watch. But you have to make sure that it is RBGH free. Okay. R stands for recombinant, BGH is bovine growth hormone. You have to make sure if you are using a whey protein that you are using an RBGH free protein, okay? Growth hormone, In milk, especially in milk, is designed to grow animals like young cows very, very quickly, okay? You think about breast milk. There's a lot of growth hormone in breast milk. So we humans, when we're very, very young infants and we're nursing, we're getting all that growth hormone designed to rapidly increase our brain development, increase our muscles, our skeletal system, and all the organs and the necessity that we need to grow. We don't need that as adults. So if you do choose to have a whey protein, which again, I don't highly recommend at all because, it's highly inflammatory. But if you do want to use it and you've seen it work for you in the past, make sure it's RBGH free. Another quality, so I already talked about the whey being inflammatory, but when I did start to switch away from a whey and move more to a plant-based protein, you can look at a couple different options. There's a lot of pea proteins out there. I always recommend finding it from an organic source, but a couple other options from a plant-based or a vegan-based protein powder. You can look at an ingredient like hemp, flaxseed, chia seed, quinoa will typically be a good ingredient in these plant-based proteins. Pumpkin, any sort of beans, they have black bean, garbanzo beans, any sort of beans that are mixed in there. And usually a lot of these supplements, especially the vegan or the plant-based proteins, will actually have a multitude of those ingredients in there, so you get a nice span of the quality. But again, when you break it down, you really don't need, you shouldn't need these protein powders to meet the amount of protein on a daily basis. If you, eat several cups of broccoli, if you eat some good quality, ancient grains like quinoa, you have some beans in your diet, you are getting plenty of protein in your diet. And especially if you add some chicken, add some beef, add some bacon, whatever the case may be, you are getting plenty of protein in your diet. So, I guess the bottom line when it comes down to protein shakes, unless you are a bodybuilder really looking to gain muscle mass, or if you're doing a fit, a fit, class, and you're trying to, tone down for a show. If that's the case, then, maybe these protein shakes are a good alternative or a good supplement. But for the average person who is just trying to get healthy and stay healthy, these protein shakes are just too much for your system to handle. It's an over inundation and you don't need it. Get your protein from good quality food sources. So that's my little tip of the day. See, I made it. No coronavirus, didn't talk about it. I want to thank you so much for stopping by. I am Dr. Dan with this week's episode of What the Health in a Salutogenic Model, and I will see you next week, saluting your health all week. Thank you so much for stopping by. See you next time.